is a crazy one. Me and Zev went to Burnley. We just wanted to we love doing an England trip every year, going to watch the games. And so we went to Burnley against Man City, and they got smashed. But regardless, before the game, we had some time, and he said, "Hey, I want to show you guys around the stadium." So he's showed us where I used to work, all the upgrades, and it's me, my brother, and David. At this point, maybe there's, I don't know, let's say 2 hours till kickoff. An hour in, he's still showing us, and he's like, and we're like, wow, like I got to imagine he's got stuff to do, right? Like, this is awesome. Thank you so much for doing it. So then at some point, let's say halfway through, we're walking around. So an hour and a half till kickoff. He's like, hey, he's showing us the gift shop and letting us pick out a few things. And he's like, you guys pay for that stuff later. Like, don't worry, we'll get back to that. So we're like, okay, so now we're getting a tour, and he's having us pick out merchandise, and it's like just kind of fun. But part of me is like, okay, it's too good to be true. Now we're in the players' lounge, and there's wives, and then there's food, and we're like, okay, this is crazy. And so an hour in, he goes, I'm so sorry, guys, I have to leave. And we're like, no, all good. He's like, yeah, Gareth's waiting. We're like, Gareth? Yeah, I told him to wait because you were coming. And so he's been waiting an hour at the moment, and he's up in the box there, but he's coming to watch James Tarkowski play and Ben Mee, to think about bringing them to the England squad, and Phil Foden's on Man City. We're like, let me get this straight. Just to be nice around the stadium and what improvements has gone on, and kind of some fun meeting times I had back in the day. So we reminisced for an hour, and he made Gareth Southgate wait for that. So it's like pretty crazy that this CEO would take the time to do that. And just speaks to his character. And then at the end of the game, he said, I want you to come back to the players' lounge. We go through, the game ends. We come back to the players' lounge, and he's like, hands us these two big bags. And he had purchased all the merchandise for us that we had went through. I mean, we splurged. I mean, we were like, okay, we came here, we're going to get a lot of stuff. I don't know, maybe we spent a few $100 on new quarter zips and hoodies and sweatpants and the whole deal. And so it was really special for that, because he's just like, he just gave us a special moment where most people would not wait for Gareth Southgate. Helped me out actually about maybe 3 years after I left Burnley. I flew on my own to Barcelona. I just wanted to watch Messi, so I flew to Barcelona, watched a Champions League game by myself, and then went to England to watch a few games, and Burnley was playing away at West Ham. So I was in London for the trip. And so he got me tickets. I said, hey, man, I'm going to be at the West Ham Burnley game. You got any extra away tickets? He's like, yeah, I'll put it in your name. So we chatted then, sent him a nice card. So I'm all about handwritten cards. So I sent him some stuff. He was just appreciative. And he said, yeah, I'll hook you up with that. So that was kind of our last message. Since then, maybe, a year and a half later, I was like, hey, man, I want to come to Burnley. I've still, this whole time, remember, I've not seen a game at Burnley, because I was in there during the summer, was never really, and I was close with the people there. And so they're like, you got to come to a game. And so finally, when I came, they're like, you're kind of the only intern we've had. This is special. They're like, we've had interns since, but it's the typical intern of like, okay, I want to make sure I'm learning and doing the right things. And almost like there's a certain person who's like, I don't want to step on toes, and I need to have more of that. And then there's a certain person who's like, I need to make sure I'm taking advantage of this. And maybe they need to have more of that from me. But we both humans have both sets to learn from. It's kind of about finding the balance there. But the biggest difference between American soccer and European soccer is summed up like this. When you go to an LA Galaxy game or a Quakes game, at halftime, oftentimes they bring on a bunch of 7-year-olds or 8-year-olds, and they just have a big scrimmage. And it's kind of like, okay, everyone's running everywhere. And in England, at halftime, the kids come on and they do 5v2. And it's just keep away. No one's going to goals. It's just like, let's use our brains here. And so they're really just technical. Okay, those kids. And it's almost a way to be like, okay, here's how Fulham, and that was at a Fulham game I was at, which was special, where they were like, okay, they do 5v2 at halftime. It's not about scoring, and it's not about all this, kind of the athleticism. And so I always, you can't not think, wow, what if I got to grow up here? Maybe I would have been, so who knows? But I mean, I have a great life. I don't regret it. But it's one of those things where the difference is when you go play, like you said, soccer is a language. So I went to England, I went to Burnley, I was doing 5v2. I don't have to talk to them. We have an understanding. In America, I'll go to a pickup game and I'll leave that without having any understanding or relationship with the person. unless I, do a meg and score a goal, they're like, good job. But I do very little subtle things where the ball's coming to me. I'll just do a light set or, very subtle stuff that doesn't really get appreciated, where over there, all those little things matter. And the coolest part was there were people overweight in like the Fulham program. And what was awesome was that it didn't matter. It's like, look, they've got the footballing brain. And so they're like, we can make someone fit. What you can't do is take someone who has no soccer brain and then try to make them something. So they're like, we'd rather have the brain and then change their physique and get them to the conditioning part. That's way easier. And then you look at an example today, like Adama Traore, who's just a super freak athlete, right? He's on Wolves, going down the line. It's like, this guy's a force nature. Well, he came up in Barcelona, and they're like, we have a physical specimen who's just unbelievable, yet we cannot teach this guy. And so they got rid of him. And so what's so interesting is, maybe if people like me and you got to grow up in a Barcelona in our life, we might be in a very different place than where we are right now.